Tajikistan.
Yes.
So talk to me. You're not from Tajikistan, but you have spent some time there. So just talk to me about how you got into that area, and how much time you spent there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. And yeah, I, as a teenager, I got fascinated. I was an odd little kid. I got fascinated with the miniature paintings, these 15th, 16th century miniature paintings that were at the Met Museum and other museums in San Francisco, where I'm from, of these dancers that were from Central Asia. And they were kind of like frozen in these beautiful poses. And my mother's a dancer, and I'd always danced, but not in any of those styles. And I just said to myself, I have to see what that looks like in real life. I want to learn these dances. And I was lucky enough to be living in a cosmopolitan, city that actually had access to people of the diaspora. So there were Uzbek and a few Uzbek and Tajik ladies who were living here that started teaching. And from there, the ball got rolling. I also was studying Persian dance. And then eventually I went to Tajikistan with the Tajik Dance Initiative, which was it was an NGO that was created by my teacher at the time to do anthropological research on dance in Tajikistan. So we went from village to village in the Pamir Mountains, interviewing professional and semi-professional dancers about why they dance, how they dance. And we have about 60 hours of footage, an archival digital library of all these different styles from region to region and the differences. And then I was with Cirque du Soleil, so I took a break from traveling to Central Asia because I was working so much. But in between, after those 5 years, then I wanted to immediately go back to Central Asia, because that dancing was the one that actually it made me feel connected, made me feel rooted in the movement, in the music, which I had been missing all of that time while I was dancing with Cirque, which was entertainment, kind of entertainment dancing, but not in the same kind of, it didn't resonate with me in the same way as the styles that I'd studied. So I went back there a few times. It was only for a few weeks or a month at a time. And the last time, after I did 5 years with Cirque, my teacher, I packed for a month and I was supposed to stay there for a month. And my teacher said, "You don't have work to go back to and you don't have a husband, so give me 1 year of your life." And I was like, I don't know what to say to her, because I don't actually have an excuse, actually. And there's this tradition called the Ostad Shogird, which is teacher to student. So it's traditionally the musician or the dancer. It's like this kind of concept of kinesthetic orality, where it's passed down. The lineage is passed down to the other younger artist, apprentice. And in exchange, the apprentice, because they're getting all of this intangible knowledge, you really become like the bride or the daughter-in-law, or whatever you want to liken that to. So it goes beyond just, coming for a month and paying for classes. So essentially that's what she was asking of me. She said, okay, you've been coming, every couple of years, and you've been coming for a few weeks or a month, but now is your time to, to give this back to me. And so I did. So I found a job. I found a part-time job. I extended my visa. I found an apartment. I didn't speak the language because I'd been only, going there for a few weeks to a month at a time. I didn't know anyone except for my teacher. And I eventually ended up becoming the first Westerner to dance in Tajikistan's national dance ensemble. And she entered me in a nationwide television search for Tajikistan's best traditional Tajik dancer, and I ended up winning that as well.
Oh,
which that had some controversy around it because they didn't realize that I was foreign anyways, but it helped pay my rent for another month. And it was an amazing experience, because it was whatever challenges as a single foreign woman, not having any contacts there, were tenfold the gifts of these friendships, learning a new language, having a deeper understanding and connection to culture, and the dance form. So, I would never, change that and ever, and I think also that's how I prefer to travel, is not as a tourist, but really as a traveler. So not the easy access and kind of comfortable and relaxing, but maybe uncomfortable at moments, maybe cringeworthy at moments sometimes, but really through some of those obstacles, a much deeper connection and understanding of and listening to how these people culturally and artistically create. So
Yeah.
that's kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's great. Super fascinating. I want to keep on that tourist versus traveler track a little bit. We've talked about this before, but yeah, expand upon that. Because you were, at one time you were talking about how when people travel through Central Asia, they talk about how hospitable people are, how they bring them into their home and they give them food and yada yada. And then they say stuff like, oh, it was so cheap. Like I got out, it was dirt cheap there. And how maybe that's not the attitude you should go into Central Asia with.
Yeah. So mehmoon means guest in Farsi or Tajik, and mehmoon is like the highest honor. Like mehmoon is like God. It's like it's it's their utmost kind of service that if someone comes, whether they know them or not, and they're a guest. For example, when we went through the Pamirs, there's no hotels there, so we went to some area and it was dark, and we were way up in the mountains, and there were 6 of us, anthropologists and people on the project for the NGO, and they just vacated their rooms and slept by the river so that we could have indoor beds for the night. I mean, that level of hospitality, and they put everything on the sofre, on the table, or it's like a big kind of grand sheet, like a bed sheet, where they just display everything, the berries that have been picked, the fruits, the rice, the meat, everything, what they have, they put it all out there. So the thing to have an awareness about is, although that they'll give everything to you essentially to make you feel comfortable, don't eat everything that's on the table, because that might be their whole week's portion, but they're putting it out there for you to be hospitable, because hospitality is utmost. Hospitality is godliness, So and I think also the idea, yes, it is cheap compared to Western standards, and to have an awareness of the fact that even if you're a broke Westerner, you're still not a broke person in Central Asia. So to not have this kind of idea of cultural extraction and then not giving something back. So bring rice with you, bring vegetables with you. Actually, in the Pamirs, they have to drive trucks of carrots up. It's a 2 to 3 day journey. And if it's too hot, the entire produce spoils by the time it gets up there. And then they just don't have carrots for the week. Right. And that was like, I remember going shopping for carrots at like 7 a.m, but I woke up too late, so we didn't get any carrots. We just had onions and potatoes for the week. So I mean, those are precious things that you can have kind of in the back of your mind. How am I, what am I taking away, and what can I put back in? Because it really is of utmost importance for them, particularly in Central Asian culture in Tajikistan, to make people feel welcome and comfortable. And so, yeah, I think that's really trying to be aware of the generosity, and that they are genuine about it, but it also is a cultural expectation to do that. So they might be really, really suffering and poor, but they're not going to show that. They're going to just offer everything they have.
Moving off that, what is a stereotype of Tajikistan, or someone from that area that you would like to combat, or that you saw and you were like, look, that's just not the case?
Yeah. I mean, I really have to say, I think Tajikistan's superpower is dance. And of course, I'm a dancer, so this is from my perspective, but it's just, it's everywhere you look. And I think that you think you're going to, and it's like this, going back to the Orientalism thing, it's like, oh yeah, I'm being a badass because I'm going to this weird behind the Iron Curtain, you know, post-Soviet, like I'm going to this post-Soviet country on the border of Afghanistan, and you know, it's a Muslim majority, and all of these kind of stereotypes that precede the actual location and the people. And but when you go there, I mean, there's actually so much more, and especially in the palm years, you know, the women and men are dancing together, and there's just so much more openness. I mean, there is a level of kind of concealment in some ways, but at the same, like there was some filmmakers, two women filmmakers, I can't remember who they were, but they went on the highway, the Pamir highway, and they went through Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan and all the different stans, and they said Tajikistan was the most closed, they said, because they were talking about issues about women's health and sexual health and things like that, and they said that in Tajikistan they found them to be the most kind of closed off. And I would say to that, as someone who's lived there for a year, that actually maybe initially Tajikistan might be like that, but I think over a longer period of time, once you earn people's trust, it's maybe a cultural thing. It just takes more time. But once you get past that point of kind of earning people's trust, they are so open. It's like, you're like, oh yeah, I don't even want to know that. That's too much information. You know, like they're so warm and so close, and so kind of so open actually. But I think it's just once you get past that little barrier. So yeah, I would just say, I mean, as of course I'm biased because I'm very myopic in my vision. I'm always looking for arts. I'm always looking for performing arts, but it's just, there's so much joyfulness in how they express that. And like I said before, you know, there's a dance for death. There's a dance for birth. There's a dance for spring, for the different seasons. There's dances that pantomime, you know, life surrounding. There's dances that celebrate, you know, from chores, reflecting chores. There's just so much richness to what's being expressed, and I think you just have to take a little more time to sit with it or look underneath the surface. And once you connect deeper with people or spend a longer period of time, you really reveal so much, you know, just so much openness and so much wealth in terms of the arts and the handicrafts that are being, all these very creative creators that are creating constantly, and kind of very I think very skillfully straddling contemporary and traditional. I mean, because on the weekend they might go to grandma's house in the village, and then during the weekday they're going to be in a city, you know, looking at YouTube and Facebook. So they're really kind of, I think they didn't go through the Industrial Revolution like Europe did. So they're really able to, I don't know, be in touch with both in a way that I think we miss, because we don't have that access to, you know, traditions that are still ongoing. I think the only other thing I can piggyback on that question is, you know, the levels of diversity in in fashion, how women express themselves. Like, so you'll see a woman, maybe because of the, you know, more Saudi influence, they're wearing more Arab dress, where they're very Islamic, covered from head to toe with the hijab, or then the more traditional Tajik style, which is the rumol, which is just a headscarf with the hair coming out the side.
Okay, so I want to go back to you spending the year in Tajikistan for dance.
Yeah.
what was your favorite sort of travel story from that? And then were you just dancing? Was it for the public? Was it for somebody in particular? Did you travel all around the country doing dance? All of that.
Yeah. So yeah, I took, so it was pretty urgent in terms of visas because they're very astringent on visas. I had a friend who even got deported. She was doing her PhD research. She had all the papers. She, even got deported. So I mean, it's no joke with the visas. So I was I had only a 1 month visa. So I did a visa run to Kyrgyzstan, and then just the luck of the draw, I found a job at a local international high school with my teaching credential to be an English teacher in their main, regular high school. So they got me the visa, and I looked in the, it was all written in Russian, but I looked in the newspaper and used translator to find out, okay, who, so I can stay with someone. So I had roommates. One of them was Russian Tajik, and the other one was a researcher from Germany doing research on water production and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a lot to navigate all of these different things all at the same time, because my mind was also like I was time traveling in a way where my mind was like, I'm supposed to be over here. I'm supposed to be going away now. And now I'm here. And in the beginning, yeah, the dancers didn't know me and I couldn't speak the language. So it was 8-hour rehearsals and I'd just be sitting there and no one would talk to me. But we would dance together, and we non-verbally were communicating when we were in the dance floor. But then when the dance would be over, I would just sit in my little corner and the other dancers would be all, gossiping and talking and whatever. But that, that broke through probably on the fifth month through. I kind of broke through that barrier and they started getting curious about me. And I started learning like street Tajik mixed in with Russian and some bad words and some silly words. I mean, definitely not something that I could ever speak unless it was just very conversational street Tajik to a local person. But yeah, I can definitely, I can get by without a problem, thanks to my coworkers, thanks to the dancers, because none of them spoke. There were 20 boys and 20 girls in the Tajik National Ensemble, and none of them spoke English, as well as my teacher, who was the artistic director. So that really helped me, as a crash course immersion in street Tajik or conversational Tajik. And then I didn't tell the school where I was teaching high school, because dancers have a kind of are kind of marginalized or have a stigma around them. Even though it was part of the national ensemble, there's a pride in terms of, any event that happens, any national holiday, that's the job of the dance ensemble, to perform on television in the big stadiums and when the president arrives and all of those things. At the same time, they're, dancer, rakosa means dancer. It's kind of synonymous with prostitute. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the reality. I mean, professional dancers, of course not, but still the profession of dance, we're using our body as the instrument. There are, some stigmas around that. And so as I was in this high school, I decided to just not, it was a little more conservative. It was run by the Turkish embassy and the Tajik government. I decided to not reveal my other job, which from 7 to 1, I taught. And then from 2 to about 7, I was in the National Ensemble doing rehearsals. And then I come home and grade papers and then wake up at 6 and do the whole thing. It was like a 12-hour day every day for almost 10 months. It was pretty intense, but I wanted it so badly. My people might question my, qualifications to be able to be doing these forms, but my dedication and investment and prioritization of learning the intangible knowledge from these regions with my limited income that I have have earned over the whatever last 10, 15 years has been all redirected into my dance studies. So so that at least I can say for that. And I think it really helped me understand, of course, more to never ending lifetime to understand and learn, but it helped me understand some of the nuances and idiosyncrasies and little things that also non-verbally, you just don't pick up until you're really living and breathing in that setting where the dance is created, where the dance is birthed from. And I wanted to also show you my a few of my costumes, which so the tilakosh is worn on the dancer's head or by brides traditionally, and tilla is gold and kosh is the eyebrows. Okay. So it's the golden eyebrows basically. So here's a few tilakosh. This is an antique one from the 70s.
Amazing.
And here's a little more funky one, but here's the little eyebrows.
So that hangs over the eyebrows or over
so it will go, it goes like that. Yeah. And so before I could afford, because the trip is about $2,000 from California to go there. So I worked several jobs to be able to go there when I was in my early 20s. And before I was able to go there, I didn't have access to tilakosh. So what I did, I had a performance that I had learned some dancing from people of the diaspora. And so I made a tilakosh out of golden pipe cleaners. So here's my first tilakosh that I made before I got to Central Asia. And it's,
oh my gosh.
I made it all out of, if you can see, it's all little gold pipe cleaners that I twisted and then added little beads and things.
That's amazing though.
Yeah. So that was my dream, to be able to have a real tilakosh. And then this is real. This is real. This is from Kulab.
Okay.
It's silver. So it's worn with the Kulyabi style dance, and it's quite heavy when you're dancing, but those are a few of my most precious items that are just very special, but also meaningful because of the people that I got them from and the places that I was in when I was dancing with them. So those are, I don't know, a few things. The only other things I can say about, I guess, my teacher in the Pamirs, her name was Zaragul Iskandarova. She was one of the most famous actresses and dancers of the Pamir Mountains. And when I met her, I had decided to stop dancing because I just felt like there's a little bit of politics involved in the world of dance. And so I decided I would just keep it as a hobby. And someone translated for me. She looked me in the eye, and she was a very intense woman. And she said, "You are spitting in the face of God if you don't accept this gift."
Oh my goodness.
Okay. And I was like, okay. So Tajikistan really has a very, strong hold on my heart, because she really set my heart ablaze and realigned me back on my path of dance. And then a year after that, I got the casting from Cirque du Soleil found a video of me online doing Tajik dance and offered me a solo role on this 5-continent tour. So, I mean, she's passed away since, but I really credit her for kind of setting me back on my artistic path. So,
yeah. So just changing gears a little bit, if we were in Tajikistan together, what would we do?
I think I would take you to Chaikhani Rohat, which is this absolutely gorgeous, just completely beautiful Soviet era tea house that's on Rudaki, the main road in downtown Dushanbe. And I would take you for a nice green tea, chai ziloni. I would maybe take you to the ensemble and have you sit in on a rehearsal with some of the dancers. If I was maybe take you to a wedding, because weddings are always happening and they're kind of the fun place to party down. There's also, I mean, I did have fun in the nightclubs because I really don't like nightclubs at all here in the West, but they were really fun for me there because it's quite safe for women at nighttime in Dushanbe to walk. I could walk back to my house, and the music is all kind of like, it's like Turkish pop and Arabic pop and Tajik pop. And so it was just music that was fun for me to dance to. And in their small little nightclubs, they're not very big. And so, you know, for me, I don't really drink that much. So it was more about just being able to dance and have fun to music that I liked. Of course, they have alcohol and they have food. They usually have food, which is also a little bit weird at the a lot of the nightclubs, that you'll sit down, you have this like full meal, like in the middle of their like loud, you know, nightclub scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, and if it was in another region like the Pamirs, I mean, the air in the Pamirs is like nothing, you know, you can ever describe unless you experience it. It's just so pristine. The water is just so clear and so fresh, and you can drink straight out of it. And the warmth of the people, I mean, like I said, they just vacated their beds. I mean, the kindness and the warmth of the people there, and the artists, the level of talent that's, you know, it's just, it's a wealth of riches that can be explored from place to place. That's a really special, memorable place. Like I said, my teacher, Zaragol, was from there, from Khorog, and just the omnipresence of the mountains, and being able to see dancers and singers singing in nature, and kind of their voices kind of reflecting off of the mountains. They say it's the first opera. Mado is the first opera of the world because the sound reverberates off of the mountaintops, and so it echoes and has this omnipresent sound. So it's an awe-inspiring experience to be able to see the landscape, and also these very creative people doing what they do.
Well, so we're getting close to time, but I wanted you to show some Tajik dance, especially because we just did the Uzbek dance as well. So I want to see sort of the differences in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Zaragol, my teacher, will maybe play you some Pamiri music from Badakhshan.
Okay.
And then maybe a tiny bit of Shash Makam, which is that 1,000-year-old tradition with the more classical style. Let me just. Sorry. 1 second, stand by. Didn't have that queued up. So I don't have I wasn't totally prepared to dance in this setting. But so normally you would have your legs covered, and I'm wearing like a little dress I had made, but you get the idea. My teachers hopefully aren't gonna yell at me. style.
Okay.
Okay, let me just find. So this is called Munojat. It's,
Okay.
I'll just do a tiny piece of it. It's a classical form. And this comes from the Shesh Maqam, so sixth Maqam. It's shared between Tajikistan and Uzbekistan.
Okay.
Although in Uzbekistan, during the Soviet period, the Soviets wanted to individuate each region with its new republic. So they changed the lyrics, because Uzbeks would sing Tajik lyrics, Farsi lyrics, but then so they wanted to individuate these republics, so they changed the lyrics to be spoken. There were some spoken in Uzbek as far as I'm aware, but not to the same extent. So now they went off in two separate routes, where the Shesh Maqam is Uzbek sung and Tajik sung,
I see.
which before it was much more mixed.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. It goes on for about 15 minutes, so I think, but he's singing about separation from the beloved. So it's a song of yearning, and it's one of the classical compositions.
It's really so beautiful. Okay, cool. I will let you get back to your day. You have taken so much time out of your day for me, so thanks so much.
I'm so happy to,
it was really beautiful. And you're in San Francisco, correct?
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco.
Okay. I just had a friend just moved to San Francisco like last week.
Oh.
We're planning to meet up in San Francisco at some point before the end of the year. So I would love to meet in person at some point.
I would too. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much again. And I will
pleasure.
See you soon, hopefully.
See you soon. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.